Okay, here goes microbiology study number 3. We are talking still about gram-negative bacteria. And gram-negative in a gram stain stains pink, S-pink. So all of the bacteria categories that start with SP or C are gram-negative. Now, in a previous video, I was talking about proteobacteria, which is a P, so it falls into the gram-negative category. Here are the other S-pink gram-negative categories. So we'll start with the spirochetes. Now, I have a pretty visual brain, and so I picture the images of the spirochetes that we saw in the book, and they were all kind of black and white, so there was really not a whole lot of color. They're hard to stain, obviously, but the pictures of them were white on a dark background, so they're seen in a dark field fluorescent microscope. And they're hard to culture because they're really modal. They move around a lot. And the images of them, they're spiraled, but then they also have a filament that runs along them that contracts and helps them to move. That's what makes them so modal. But it looks to me like a dog rawhide. I don't know if you've seen the ones that are like the white rawhide, and it's kind of twisted, but twisted in with it is a red, like a beef flavored rawhide. That's kind of what it looks like. It's that white with that, like that filament, you know. Anyway, that's what I'm picturing. But because it's a dog bone, dogs have ticks, and this is Lyme disease from ticks. It's also syphilis. I don't know why I just remember that from the pictures in the books, but there you go. So next category is a C in the S-pink. The C is CFB group. And I just want you to go with me on this. So the CFB group is a group of people at a bar. That's the way of remembering this one. So CFB group is a group of people at a bar. They are rod-shaped. So I'm picturing people like hanging out at a bar with a big, tall, round beer stein, rod-shaped. And they're avid fermenters, and beer is a fermented drink. So the CFB is the Cytophagia, Fusobacterium, and the Bacteroides. Again, I just think about people at a bar. So Cytophagia, Slida, it just kind of sounds the same. And if you think about like the old Westerns where a cowboy comes walking up to the bar and the bartender like slides the beer down the bar to him, that's the Slida. That's what they're known for, is this gliding motion. There's really not a whole lot more that I found we're supposed to know about them. So I'm thinking that's all we're supposed to know, is they move by gliding. Now the Fusobacterium in the CFB group, Fusa is like feuding. So like feuding at a bar, like a bar fight, right? Well, the Fusobacteria, it affects the mouth. It inhabits the mouth, and it causes oral disease because, you know, people start feuding or a bar fight because somebody's running their mouth. And then the Bacteroides is, we're studying bacteria, right? So you got to have something with Bacteroides in it. But Bacteroides is, it's just part of the normal gut biome. And if you know somebody who drinks a lot of beer, their chances are they got a little beer belly. And so the Bacteroides is directly associated with obesity. Moving on to planktomyces. So planktomyces sounds like plankton, and plankton is a Greek word for drifter or wanderer, but it was given that name because plankton is moved around with the tide. So planktomyces is all aquatic, but I'm just picturing like this cell or this organism that is moving around in the water. And so as it has a baby, like a little baby bud, the baby is floating around or swimming around in the water. It's just kind of haphazardly going wherever. It's a swarmer cell, so swimming is swarming. But this swarmer cell floats around until it bangs into something. Well, by this time it's tired and it just wants to hold on and take a break, right? So the swarmer cell floats and drifts until it hits something and it attaches to it with a hold fast. So it just holds on to, take a break or whatever. Well, it gets pretty comfortable and it stays there forever and it starts to mature, and then that's how it reproduces, is whenever it is attached to something. So it then turns into a sessile cell. Sessile like cease, like it stops. So it just stops moving and multiplies. So then the last one is phototropic. And I said in a previous video, phototropic, like photogenic, like photos. Photogenic, some people are and some people aren't. And some of the phototropic bacteria are proteobacteria and some are not. Similarly, this phototropic bacteria kind of goes one way or another. We're really not too sure exactly which category it falls in because it's kind of iffy. So not only are some proteobacteria and some non-proteobacteria, but also some produce oxygen and some do not. So some are oxygenic and some are not. Now, the anoxygenic, which means it does not produce oxygen, that's the majority of the bacteria that we're looking at. So the majority of the phototropic bacteria does not produce oxygen. But of course some does, because there's always an outlier. So the oxygenic is, there is one that we were told about, and it's the cyanobacteria. I might be saying that wrong, but I think of cayenne, like cayenne pepper. So oxygenic, you're breathing. That's what you do whenever something's hot, like cayenne pepper. So the cyanobacteria, you can remember a little bit about it because you really don't want a whole lot of cayenne pepper on your food. It's a little bit too much. You also don't want a whole lot of cyanobacteria because it produces toxic blooms. Now, for the anoxygenic phototropic, I'm getting tongue-tied. There are a couple of different categories. So phototropic, like a photo, you have different filters. You could have purple or you can have green. So there are purple sulfur and non-sulfuric, and then you have green sulfur and green non-sulfuric. So purple is like when there's no oxygen, your lips turn purple. It's kind of how I remember it. So purple has nothing to do with oxygen. It's just hydrogen. So the purple sulfur, it takes hydrogen and it produces sulfide or sulfuric acid. But the purple non-sulfur, so it's not oxygen, it's hydrogen. So it doesn't produce sulfur, it just uses the hydrogen. The green sulfur, green is better, it's oxygen. So it oxidizes, green sulfur oxidizes sulfur, and then the green non-sulfur oxidizes not sulfur. The green oxidizes non-sulfides. Okay, more to come.